So friends, people who are protesting in Iran feel that they have been betrayed. US President Donald Trump had promised them that help was coming and that it was just about to arrive. But that help never came. Trump was continuously supporting the protesters through social media. He was telling them to continue the protests. He was assuring them that help was on the way. He was telling them to take over their country's institutions. Because of this, the protesters started believing that military support was coming from the United States. Reports were also emerging that the US was evacuating non-essential staff from its bases in the Middle East. This made the protesters in Iran feel that a US military intervention in Iran was about to happen. They protested fearlessly and loudly against the Iranian regime. Trusting Trump's claims, they put their lives at risk. They protested against Ayatollah Khamenei. But after this, Trump backed off. He did not carry out a military intervention in Iran. He then justified his decision by saying that Iran's regime had told him that they had stopped executing protesters. Trump had earlier warned that if Iran's government executed protesters, the United States would intervene to save them. So when the Iranian government assured him that protesters were not being executed, military action was postponed for the time being. After that, the people protesting in Iran were shocked. They now feel that the US president fooled them. They feel they have been betrayed. They have a strong feeling that they were misled because they believed Trump's words. They protested aggressively and put their lives at risk. But no help came from Trump's side, and the Iranian regime violently crushed the protests. The Iranian regime carried out a brutal crackdown on the protests without any restraint. It shut down the internet so that the images and the videos of the crackdown on protesters could not go out. Thousands of people were arrested. Thousands of protesters lost their lives. Now the protesters feel that Trump provoked them and then did not support them. In a way, they feel that they were abandoned. That is why Iranian protesters are extremely disappointed with Trump. They are experiencing a sense of betrayal. They feel that Trump played games with them. Many people also believe that some secret deal may have been made behind closed doors, because of which the United States did not carry out a military intervention in Iran. The ray of hope that had emerged among protesters in Iran has now turned into fear. This is because the Iranian regime is openly suppressing the protests. It is portraying the protesters as being influenced by foreign powers. It is accusing foreign forces of instigating the protests inside Iran. By doing this, it is justifying its brutal repression. In such a situation, Iranian protesters are stuck in a serious dilemma. External help is not coming. At the same time, they are facing an internal crackdown. Now the question arises, looking at Trump's track record, should Iranian protesters have trusted his words? Because you can see that Trump has always appeared to have mixed objectives when it comes to Iran. Sometimes he offers diplomacy, and at other times, he starts threatening military action. Trump mostly engages in signal politics. He tries to shape the perception of domestic and international audiences by using limited military force. This is done so that objectives are achieved without triggering a massive conflict. Trump avoids fully committing to a large-scale war. This is because he does not want to bear the political cost that such a war would bring. That is why many analysts believe that even if Trump had not backed down, the United States would not have carried out a full invasion of Iran. Only targeted strikes would have been seen. The United States would have destroyed only specific assets inside Iran. This would have caused very limited damage in Iran. This is because Iran has already placed most of its assets underground. Instead of keeping them in one place, Iran has dispersed them. So even if the United States had attacked Iran, it would have been symbolic. Just like last time. It would have been meant only to show that the United States can take action. Such an attack would not have been decisive enough to change Iran's behavior. It would also not have destroyed Iran's ability to retaliate. Because it is a fact that Iran is not a weak state. Destroying its entire capability is difficult. The same thing happened last time as well. The United States and Israel carried out symbolic strikes against Iran. Iran also responded with a symbolic counter-strike. Limited attacks were seen from both sides. Both sides were successful in saving face. The possibility of an all-out war was prevented. Escalation of tensions was stopped. the region was prevented from becoming destabilized. As a result, oil markets were not disrupted. So there was a very high probability that the United States would avoid carrying out a full-blown invasion without multilateral backing. This is because a full war with Iran would prove highly unpredictable, disastrous, and costly. Therefore, there were strong chances that the United States would use only a limited strike to send a message to Iran. This would not change the underlying power dynamics. Obviously, the United States takes action after considering all economic, military, and diplomatic aspects. The people protesting in Iran should have understood this reality. They should have thought carefully before blindly trusting Trump's words. At present, the United States wants to carry out a regime change operation in Iran by exploiting the country's internal fault lines. For this purpose, the United States identified problems within the country, such as economic hardship and political suppression. Then social media was used to mobilize people and assure them of support. Pressure is also being built on the Iranian regime by imposing economic sanctions on Iran and diplomatically isolating it. The ultimate objective is to bring about regime change in Iran and increase Israel's supremacy in the Middle East. This aligns with US foreign policy, under which the United States seeks to prevent the emergence of global powers and remove regimes that challenge American dominance. Driven by this objective, US President Donald Trump publicly encouraged people during the protests that began last December and assured them of military backing. The protesters took Trump's messages seriously and assumed that foreign support would come and protect them from a brutal crackdown. However, later Trump softened his tone and put intervention in Iran on hold. Caught in power politics, Iranian protesters ended up paying a heavy price on the ground. This episode highlights the sharp contrast between hope and reality.